Brian Gutekunst has proven he will take one-year flyers on veteran players. Is this the urgency he's looking for? If it is, there are some free agent pass rushers who could fit the bill.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast to iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. They help you find qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions to apply. In a normal year, the Packers would be looking at young free agents. And if you want a young corner on that first year, that first big money contract, or you want a young pass rusher, those guys are out there. Those guys are out there. But what if Brian Gutekunst changes his strategy, as we discussed with the Khalil Mack deal? Well, what if it's not Khalil Mack? There is one player who could make an enormous amount of sense for the Packers. First, I think it's perhaps more likely that they do something like give Josh Sweat a bunch of money. In terms of age, he fits the bill. It is a potential 4-year commitment or more for them. And there's upside there. We just saw him be part of a rotation on a really good defense. In fact, the best defense in the league in Philadelphia. There's also Chase Young, who Jeff Hafley coached at Ohio State once upon a time. Now, I don't think anyone would be suffering under the delusion that if you bring Chase Young in, he suddenly becomes the player he was at Ohio State, who looked like an unbelievable future NFL player. And by the way, he was a pretty good NFL player for a while. Injuries scuttled the explosiveness. There's a lot of reasons. Paulson Adebo at corner, for example. Like, if you're just going to telegraph me a Brian Gutekunst offseason from the last couple years or 2019, it's Paulson Adebo, it's Chase Young or Josh Sweat, and that's what you go with. But what's interesting is we haven't seen Brian Gutekunst in this position, where he knows he has an awesome team. Even let's just be, as sympathetic as we can to the criticisms of the Packers. He's got a very good team, an 11-win football team. And they have cap space. They have money to spend. And I expect them to go out and spend it. When they won a bunch of games in 2019, that was really great, but then 2020 happened. And the Packers knew you get into that March territory. I don't know that we knew a global pandemic was coming the way that it did, and that it would stop football the way that it did, but you give out top of market contracts to Jair Alexander. Aaron Rodgers is already playing on a top of market contract. The David Bakhtiari contract is looming. You make that deal in 2020. They really spent money on their own superstar players. That deal is still having to come. They're going to have to pay Zach Tom here coming up. And they're going to have some smaller deals that they're going to have to figure out. But there are no, for the moment anyway, cornerstone pieces that they have to worry about yet. So we don't know how Brian Gutekunst would handle all of this. It's why I'm hesitant to say, well, Brian Gutekunst does this, when over and over he's gone against tendency in specific instances. A DJ Reed, for example, cornerback from the Jets. Yeah, he's going to be 30, but Jeff Hafley, it's a perfect fit. He's coached smaller corners before. If DJ Reed were in the draft, the Packers would never take him. But he's not in the draft. He's a free agent, and the Packers will go outside their types in free agency because it's not a bet on upside anymore. Now there's tape. We know what you are. It's proven you're in the NFL. We have NFL tape to look at. Different animal. No, the player I'm thinking of is Haason Reddick. Goes to the Jets last year. Speaking of Philadelphia pass rushers we've seen be productive. Now, a little bit undersized, but we've seen him play on early downs, can still be a stout enough run defender. He's someone who, yes, early 30s, but is looking at a 1-year prove-it deal. And this is what is so appealing to me. Brian Gutekunst before, he never really had the chance. Like you think about like the Christian Kirksey signing, the Rick Wagner signing, the Devin Funchess signing. Those were upside plays, but they're cheap. It's like, well, if they don't hit, not a big deal. But if they do, you're getting all this excess value. They didn't really have the financial flexibility to go throw $15 million at Haason Reddick. But this Packers team theoretically does, especially depending on what they do with Jair Alexander. In fact, the Packers save $15 million if they trade Jair Alexander. Could they be in a position then to backfill that with a player like Haason Reddick? A veteran player. Now, you can say what you want about how he handled the Jet situation. He didn't play great when he finally did play, but he hadn't played all year. He didn't practice, and then the season's over. Like I can't really get too upset. I can't really find anything to like point to and go, oh yeah, like that sucks. Like he's terrible. No, I don't think that that's true. He's someone who is going to want to prove he turns 31 in September. He's going to want to get paid. He's going to go out and play his butt off. The Packers are in a position to take advantage of that. A young team, a team that could give him an opportunity to win, play in a defense that is somewhat similar to the one he was just theoretically in, with talent around him, on a team that has a chance to go compete for an NFC championship, has a chance to go compete for a Super Bowl. How many teams out there are going to give him that same opportunity? Now the Packers are going to be competing with a team like Detroit. They're going to be competing with teams like the Bears and the Vikings. Do they give him the same opportunity? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. He's going to have to make those decisions. We'll see what the future is of Zadarius Smith in Detroit. Would they swap out Smith, who's probably going to want a new contract, for Haason Reddick? I don't know. But Reddick is the kind of player, atypical in size, 6'1", 240, but we've seen what he can do as a pass rusher. And to have him come in and just say, look, let me just get 15 sacks. Second and longs, third and longs. I'm on the field. And remember how good Rashawn Gary was, the number one player in run stop win rate this year. And one of the reasons why, we've talked about this on the show, one of the reasons why he's off the field on 3rd and 8 is because he got them to 3rd and 8 with, a pressure on 1st down and then a stop on 2nd down. But then he's got to be off the field because now he's tired. He's gassed from taking on a double team or eating a chip off from a tight end on the 1st down play. He's got to come off the field. You want to run hockey lines with your pass rushers? Okay, Haason Reddick and Brenton Cox on 3rd down. Lucas Van Ness reduced inside with Kenny Clark. Let's go. Let's hunt. Let's eat. And Reddick's not the only player for whom this could be true. I think Chase Young could be looking at a 1-year prove-it deal, probably for much less money. And if you said, would you rather have Chase Young on a 1-year, $8 million prove-it deal or Haason Reddick on a 1-year, $15 million prove-it deal? Like, I kind of think I'd choose Chase Young. But we know Reddick is the better football player, or at least he was the last time we saw him play. And Chase Young had a pretty nice season last year. I think it flew under the radar a bit that he had a nice season. He might get a real money deal. And I don't know that it would be crazy for the Packers to give him a real money deal. But as I look at this team, I think there is an opportunity. And Reddick is just one example of that potential opportunity. DeMarcus Lawrence is another one. Tell me DeMarcus Lawrence wouldn't love to come compete for a Super Bowl? Just something to flag as we head toward free agency. And speaking of flagging, the Packers, they might lose Adam Stenavich. Taking interviews in Houston, that is a perfect fit. Uh-oh. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means it's time to hire, and you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Add the hiring hashtag to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high-quality hires. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Adam Stenavich is interviewing with the Houston Texans. And I went over on Locked On Texans and talked to John Hickman about that. And it struck me as I was going through, he's asking me, he's not calling plays, but what can we directly attribute to Adam Stenavich? And I'm reminded that it is really hard. It's really hard from the outside to say, we can attribute this thing that the team does to this assistant coach. This is true with Anthony Campanile too. How much of Quay Walker, the light turning on for him is that he's coaching, or that this happens a lot for linebackers in year 3, year 4. How much of the light turning on for Edgerrin Cooper midseason is Anthony Campanile, and how much is Edgerrin Cooper just being incredible and playing? Oh my God, what you play the guy and he makes plays. Amazing how that works. Okay, my sarcasm aside on this, it is difficult to assign the value of Adam Stenavich. But I don't want us to lose sight of some things that are just immutable when it comes to what has happened over the last few years. Nathaniel Hackett leaves. Adam Stenavich gets promoted. And they have to retool and rework this offense on the fly. Yes, Denver hired Nathaniel Hackett with the idea that Aaron Rodgers was coming, and then Aaron Rodgers signs the contract to stay. That's a different offense. In 2021, it's Devontae Adams, it's Aaron Jones, it's Aaron Rodgers, MVP. Then you lose Devontae Adams. And you got to rework this thing on the fly. And what did we see? We saw a whole new run game for them. All these pin-pull actions, get to the edge. That's a different set of blocking schemes than they're used to. That's not outside zone. Well, that only works if your offensive line coaches are getting your offense in the right place. And who knows, maybe it only works if your offensive line coaches or your new offensive coordinator who used to be an offensive line coach go, hey, we kind of have the perfect guys for this. Let's try it. And so you have to rework that offense on the fly. And then what happens? 2023, well, now you've got Jordan Love and you've got all these young receivers and you've got rookie tight ends and you got a first-year starter at right tackle. You got a first-year starter at left tackle. And by the end of the year, it's one of the best offensive lines in the league. You didn't reinvent the wheel with the run game, but it's working nicely. Aaron Jones, very effective end of the year. Now you go into 24. Now you got a different style of running back, someone that wants to he can play in that zone scheme, but you want to run power with Josh Jacobs. And all of a sudden, Malik Willis, now spinner action, single wing, throwback 50 years ago. This is a different kind of football. Let's pull some guards. Let's have some fun. Different kind of scheme. How much of that is Matt LaFleur? I don't know. We don't know. But I can tell you that none of that works if you don't have the right coaching with your offensive line. There's a reason I think Luke Butkus got promoted when Adam Stenavich got promoted, but there's also a reason Adam Stenavich got promoted. And it's because he's really good working with your offensive line at developing these guys. Now, the Packers have drafted and developed offensive linemen going back to before. I mean, James Campen was the king of drafting and developing offensive line. The Packers have a front office formula that works. But here's the question that stuck with me. He said, who is the coach he would take with him that would make you most nervous? That would, like, who is the coach you'd be most nervous to lose? And I thought about it. And I thought about it. And I was like, because he would, if he's going to Houston, it would be as the offensive coordinator, not the head coach. He can't really offer anyone anything that interesting. So if he's going to take one of the assistants, like what is the elevated role that he's giving them that really makes sense? Like if Jason Vrabel, for example, the passing game coordinator, is going to come, it's going to be the passing game coordinator. Unless he's coming to call plays, in which case, why wouldn't Houston just hire him? But what I was thinking of was, if Adam Stenavich leaves, who is the guy? Who do you promote from within? Now, I think the intuitive answer would just be, you just have it be Luke Gutey. He's not calling plays anyway. You just brought him back to be a senior assistant. Like basically all these guys know him, and I don't think there would be some like, hey, who the hell is this guy coming in? Like everyone knows the deal that he's been here and he's coached with a lot of these guys. I've made my point before, and I'll make it again about the utility that I think someone like Doug Peterson would provide. But that's not why I brought this up. I brought that up to say, who is the Anthony Campanile of the offensive staff? Who is the Derek Ainsley of the offensive staff? Who is the Adam Stenavich of the offensive staff? Now, understanding a lot of these guys are young. They haven't had those opportunities. But when Steno was an offensive line coach, you heard Aaron Rodgers in a press conference once say, I think Steno is going to make a great head coach one day. Who are they saying that about on this offensive staff? And it reminded me of the conversations we were having about Joe Barry. When everyone wanted him fired in the middle of the season, it was, well, who are you going to replace him with? Well, they don't actually have anyone to replace him with. There are no up-and-coming coaches to replace him with. And this defensive staff, Jeff Hafley refurbed that on the fly with the absolute quickness. Now, Jason Vrabel is a very well-respected coach in this room. I think he would have a chance to get that job. And I think if, let's say, they needed to do some internal promotion, he would be a good candidate. We don't really know what like Sean Mannion is new at his job. Luke Butkus is new at his job. And Adam Stenavich, who is the only reason Luke Butkus is in that job because he got promoted, is still in the building. So we don't, even internally, I'm not sure they know how to separate those things. Ryan Mahaffey is the receivers coach. Usually, like, there's that receivers coach pipeline. You go from receivers coach to offensive coordinator, from quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator. Well, Sean Mannion just got promoted. Mahaffey just got promoted. We haven't really seen them do their job that much. It'd be a big leap of faith to say you're the offensive coordinator now. There's a lot of young guys on this staff. Getsy now becomes the elder statesman, and he just failed consecutively in 2 other stops. Now it's calling plays. It's different working relationship with Matt LaFleur. But it stood out to me that I was like, I don't know. Like in a year or two, we might be talking about Sean Mannion. Like I think the Packers view Sean Mannion as a potential future offensive coordinator. But can he be the quarterback's coach for like a day before we do that? So all of this is to say there is a fragility here to any team like the Packers who are going to have coaches poached. Sean McVay, I think it goes discussed, and it's not our job, it's not my circus, not my monkeys with Sean McVay, that he has done an outstanding job of backfilling talent. You go in with Wade Phillips. You move on from Wade Phillips. You hire Brandon Staley. Whatever you think of Brandon Staley as a head coach, that was the number one defense in the league. Got him a head coaching job. Then you replace Brandon Staley with Raheem Morris. And you maintain the level of defensive play. And you get Raheem Morris hired, not just because he knows Sean McVay, but because he's a really good coach. Like, he showed he's a good coach. All the offensive staff, from LaFleur to Zach Taylor, these guys are constantly being poached. Just replaced with new guys who are awesome. Liam Cohen, now a head coach in like 5 minutes. He has done a remarkable job. If Matt LaFleur and the Packers continue to have success, careful, continue to have success, oh, I hope I'm the only one that heard it, but I just know I won't be. Then their coaches are going to leave. Other teams are going to come calling, even if you're not the play caller in Green Bay. But I do think that gives the Packers an opportunity to develop talent and to bring in some new coaches, bring in some new ideas. And I don't hate the idea of Luke Gutey coming back. Hey, look, you were in Seattle. What happened? Las Vegas. What happened? You're in Chicago. What'd you see? What'd you learn? Going some places and failing is not proof that you're a bad coach. I think he was set up to fail in Chicago with Justin Fields, set up to fail in Las Vegas with an interim head coach who was obviously in way over his head and no quarterbacks to speak of. And then you trade Devontae Adams and you've got no receivers. Brock Bowers, obviously incredible, but I think that can be useful. But you constantly have to be refilling this pipeline. And right now, we just don't know if the Packers have done that. We didn't know last year either, but by the end of the year, it was obvious. We'll know in a year. And by the way, Adam Stenavich might take Miles White with him, who's a coaching assistant on this staff. He might take, a Connor Lewis with him. We'll see. The Packers have to be prepared to backfill the way that Sean McVay has, and to a lesser extent, Kyle Shanahan. It's hard to do. Brain drain is difficult. I don't know that anyone is super impressed by what Dan Campbell has done replacing two of the best coordinators in the league. It's not easy to do. But good teams have to find a way. All right, Mock Draft Monday. Let's do this, baby. Next. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to make it even more exciting than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings awarded, PrizePicks makes it fun and simple to get in on the action. Here's how it works. You pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. PrizePicks even has a free pick for the big game. Patrick Mahomes only needs to throw for 1 yard to get it. Pair that with 1 correct pick and you're cashing out. Plus, promo tab, check it out. Tail the super sweet Millie winners, big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Looking for tickets for your next big event? Maybe a last-minute ticket to the big game next week? Whether it's a concert, a comedy show, a game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Gametime Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Gametime Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. Gametime Picks gives you curated deals that makes it easy, simple to find great tickets at a great price. No more sifting through thousands of options. Plus, the seat view, you can see what you're getting at the venue. Exactly what it looks like before you buy. And the best part, you're covered with Gametime's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Ready to make your next event even better? Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's do this mock draft Monday. I've been thinking about, okay, what do the Packers want to do in the offseason? They want to improve their pass rush, at depth at corner. Maybe they want to figure out this receiver thing. But what could they do with the guys that they already have that could be a force multiplier? And when I was doing this mock draft, this player showed up at 23, and I thought, what a great opportunity to have this discussion. It's Kenneth Grant, the defensive lineman from Michigan. Now, he's 6'3", 240, but moves in a way that kind of reminds me of B.J. Raji. Like, he moves way better for a big guy. Apparently, he's going to test off the charts. This could be like Jordan Davis kind of stuff. And maybe at 23, he's just not even there. But Brian Gutekunst, like Ted Thompson, like Ron Wolf, subscribe to what is known as world theory. And that is that there are only so many guys in the world who are that big and move that well. And when you have an opportunity to take one, you take it. Justin Harrell was, I know he didn't turn out well, but that was why they took that gamble with the injury. B.J. Raji, absolutely that. Kenny Clark, absolutely that. And I think what Grant would allow them to do is, number one, maybe you don't have to pay TJ Slayton. Now, you can't bank on getting someone like Kenneth Grant. You get Slayton on a 1 or a 2 year deal. This is your nose tackle, and it allows you to take the burden off Kenny Clark. It allows him to be a 3 technique. You save the wear and tear on his body. You add another interior lineman, and then Kenny Clark can be fresh on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12 to go rush the passer. And then I think Grant can give you some pass rush in there too, certainly more than someone like TJ Slayton, at least on 3rd down, just so that you can keep your rotations if you want, if you need. But is this optimal value if he can't really rush the passer in the first round? To me, it's not, but at 23, it may be your best option. I certainly had other options on the board at the time that I would have found appealing, but I also wanted to have this discussion. I'm a content creator after all, and I think it's a useful discussion to have here. Jalen Walker, linebacker from Georgia, kind of off ball, but can rush the passer, can do a little bit of everything. One of the reasons why I like this pick, and I think Walker could be a first round kind of talent. He's already more refined as a pass rusher than Quay Walker. And he is such a different kind of linebacker that I think, I wanted to have this discussion too. You've got Quay for a TBD amount of time. He is the Mike on this team. You have Edge Cooper. He is the Will. The Packers played, at one point they were playing the most base defense in the league, depending on who's charting it, top 5, top 10 amounts of base defense, where you've got 4 true linemen and 3 true linebackers on the field. That means Eric Wilson, Isaiah McDuffie, someone's got to play the Sam. And Jalen Walker, could you have don't. Remember Von Miller as a rookie. Okay, I said don't. Remember Von Miller as a rookie. He played off-ball linebacker, played the Sam spot on early downs, and then on 3rd down, rushed the passer. Jalen Walker could be that kind of player. In terms of usage and role, I'm not comparing him to Von Miller, so don't freak out. What I'm saying is he could have that kind of role, and that makes a lot of sense for the Packers, the way that they want to use their linebackers. They did a lot of run blitzing. I think he could be an explosive player. If he's there at 55, I think that's a no-brainer. And then I had to do it. I had to bring up my guy, Noah Williams from California, the University of California at Berkeley, or Cal, if it's not your first day with college football. I don't know why my brain did that. Led college football in interceptions last year. I know he's a little bit of an older prospect, went out and showed out at the Shrine Bowl. He's big enough, he's strong enough, and doggone it, people like him. No, I think he's going to check every box for the Packers. And he can play man coverage, ball production, all that stuff. I think makes him a really appealing. Look, no receiver. I tried. There was nothing good value-wise. Even the 3rd round pick, like I was struggling. It's a bunch of running backs and offensive tackles that I didn't want to draft. So I went with Noah Williams because I wanted to talk about Noah Williams, who I think has a really good chance to be a Packer. I think he fits a lot of the prototypes that they're look for here. And round 3, round 4 is right where he belongs. So I took him. Back tomorrow. I'll be in New Orleans tomorrow. In fact, today, as you're listening to this, I will be there. I'm getting very late to Radio Row, so hopefully I can grab some folks for that. But later in the week, Josh Jacobs is going to be on the program. AJ Dillon is going to be on the program. I got Braden Narvison coming on the program, and that's just like what I have locked down for sure for now. Who knows who can show up? I just grabbed Romeo Doubs last year. I just grabbed John Runyon Jr. last year. I just grabbed Donald Driver last year. So who knows who I can just grab this year? So a lot to come. Follow me on all the socials all this week. I'll be there. I'll be having fun. Peter_Bukowski. Locked On Packers is the socials for the podcast. And then wherever you find podcasts, we're there. Go leave a rating, a review, YouTube, so you can stay Locked On Packers.